I'm Shauna Bader-Blau. I'm the Executive Director of the Solidarity Center. The Solidarity Center is the largest U.S.-based organization. We work on the ground around the world in 68 countries every single year, directly with workers who are trying to build power, exercise their rights, and improve their working conditions. So when workers in garment factories are trying to exercise their rights and build voice and power, the deck is really stacked against them. The conditions tend to be poor. The local supervisors and factory owners tend to be avoiding laws and rules and not implementing labor laws, and conditions tend to be quite unsafe. And that's why we've prioritized this sector over the last couple of decades. When you compare factories where there are university codes with factories where there are not, where there are only voluntary agreements and voluntary codes of conduct in the industry and in those particular factories, there actually is no real comparison to be made. In factories where there are enforceable university codes, workers know and that they have the confidence and the ability to achieve actual results in improving wages, working conditions, and safety in the factories. In factories where we only see voluntary codes of conduct and voluntary audits, very rarely do brands ever make the actual effort needed to improve wages and working conditions experienced by workers on the factory floor. So one of the very real important impacts of the emergence of university codes in the garment industry globally as a whole has been that it's raised the bar and increased and improved the standard by which we expect global brands to operate. In many cases across Latin America, for example, where we've had university codes and effective WRC monitoring and a very clear partnership between our organizations, where unions on the ground feel very comfortable and confident and trust the monitoring of WRC and believe in the effectiveness of codes. They have a different kind of level of confidence when they raise complaints that they're going to actually be addressed. And what we have seen, in fact, at the factory level is that workers have actually been able to form unions, achieve collective bargaining, and literally remedy many grievances: owed back pay, ending of poor use of chemicals, and certainly improvements in wages and working conditions as allocated by law, and also through collective bargaining over time. In factories where we have these tools, where workers have the confidence to raise their voice and make these requests and demands, and they know that they will be in fact followed through on because they believe the system will work when it's binding and enforceable. And we've had a recent breakthrough in Bangladesh that is a direct result of the long history of presence of these university codes in the sector, and that's known as the Bangladesh Accord on Building and Fire Safety. It's clear to us, having worked in Bangladesh for more than 20 years, that the accord has actually made substantial improvements in buildings and safety in the country and in the industry, to where millions of workers are better protected and work in conditions of safety more than they ever have in all of history of the garment industry in Bangladesh. The success of the Russell case was actually very inspiring to workers across the region, and the Solidarity Center and our work on the ground, we've actually been able to use that case as an example of what is achievable when you have enforceable labor standards and codes like the university codes, and how workers can come together and use such codes to advance labor standards in the industry. It's absolutely clear that the emergence of university codes in the industry has raised the standard across the industry for what we all expect brands to do.
Hi, my name is Kalpana Akhtar. I work at Barbash Centre for Worker Solidarity. It's a labor educator NGO. I live in Dhaka, Bangladesh. The University Code of Conduct really helped workers here in Bangladesh. Like our law says, if workers get fired or if factory gets closed, the workers should get their legal severances. But as these laws are not enforced, many times the workers did not get that. So in that time, University Code of Conduct has been applied. The WRC, they have been reach out to the brands, those receive the university licenses, and ask them to talk to their suppliers and ensure that our workers get their severances. After applying this university code of conduct, the brands also understood that what constitute a meaningful remediation system. Other change is that prior to any university suppliers or prior to applying this university code of conduct, I haven't experienced that any brand disclose their supplying list. So it is also brought a lot of transparency within the supply chain, that the university licenses or university code of conduct has helped to disclose the supplier list in here, which has helped us to reach out to the brands or universities whenever our workers face problem in here. Through applying the university code of conduct and with help of Worker Rights Consortium, we were able to have Bangladesh fire and building safety, which ensure the workers are not dying in hundreds in these factories. The Accord is an extraordinary piece for us because it is a legally binding document, and it includes workers' voices, and it inspects fire, structural, and electrical. And these three things we definitely need to be properly inspected in order to have a safe workplace and have our workers' lives are safe when they're working in the factory. Prior to Accord comes into the country and operation, we had to experience hundreds of workers are dying in average in the factory fire or collapses. But now that is coming to the zero. So it's because of Accord done that. And Accord came because the University Code of Conduct was there.
Mi nombre es Damisela Mayes Martínez, soy abogada laboralista y trabajo con el Centro de Derechos de Mujeres aquí en San Pedro Sula, Honduras, en la zona norte. Nosotras somos una organización feminista que trabajamos diferentes áreas en la defensa de los derechos, pero aquí en la zona norte trabajamos específicamente en lo que es la defensa de los derechos humanos laborales, específico de mujeres que trabajan en el sector maquila. Tenemos muchos años de estar trabajando, sabemos de que no ha sido fácil, son procesos largos, pero hemos logrado a través de todos estos años hacer alianzas muy importantes. Un aporte muy valioso en toda esta lucha de la defensa ha sido el apoyo que hemos tenido a través de las universidades, a través de los códigos de conducta de las mismas. Pero gracias a estos instrumentos de los códigos de conducta de las universidades hemos logrado hacer avances valiosos. Hemos tenido la oportunidad de trabajar de cerca, en algunos casos de despidos de personas que en algún momento han pretendido organizarse en sindicatos y se les ha despedido por eso. Sabemos muchas veces que resolverlo a nivel nacional no es fácil y gracias a los códigos de conducta hemos tenido unos aliados importantes, son ese monitoreo que está pendiente y hemos podido resolver que personas que han sido despedidas sean recontratadas, se les paguen sus salarios. Definitivamente es un instrumento valioso que ha venido a respaldar lo que es nuestra legislación laboral, muchas veces superando el mismo código de trabajo. Es un trabajo importante donde hay más transparencia, información que antes no salía de las fábricas ahora es manejada por las mismas universidades. Un ejemplo valioso fue en el 2009 cuando cerró una empresa del corporativo Jersey Nuevo Día. A través de los códigos de conducta se hizo la apertura de esta empresa y que se llamó nuevamente Jersey Nuevo Día, de ahí su nombre, donde surge un acuerdo que es el famoso acuerdo de Washington, que ha venido a dar la apertura para que las centrales obreras del país, en el caso CGT en este caso, firmen un acuerdo con el grupo Frugundilum, y este acuerdo ha permitido hacer avances, que se permita ir organizando sindicatos en las diferentes empresas. Sabemos de que es un proceso y este proceso ha permitido la apertura, incluso hay réplicas donde otros corporativos ya están haciendo la apertura y se está permitiendo la libertad de formar sindicatos, que ese es un derecho a nivel de la legislación, este es un derecho a nivel internacional y realmente es un instrumento. A través de los códigos hemos logrado mucho y sabemos de que este acuerdo de Washington no se hubiera logrado si no es a través de la presión internacional, y lo más importante es que cuando trabajamos en alianza muchas cosas se pueden lograr. Entonces, en ese sentido, muchas gracias a las universidades que han permitido que tengamos este instrumento en países como el nuestro, que es tan importante. Gracias.
When I interviewed garment workers in Cambodia and Bangladesh for my work with Human Rights Watch, I heard terrible stories of labor abuses in garment factories. These ranged from sexual harassment at the workplace to forced overtime and discrimination and retaliation against workers who chose to form unions and collectively bargain. These abuses thrive in an environment where there is no transparency. When international brands and retailers don't disclose the factories they use, it is harder for workers and human rights groups to hold these apparel companies accountable for the rights of workers in their supply chains. US universities have been key leaders in demanding transparency. In the late 1990s, when universities first called on their licensees to disclose factory names and locations, the apparel companies claimed that the identity of these factories was a trade secret and couldn't be disclosed without serious damage to their business. Universities refused to accept this excuse, and now hundreds of factories are disclosed by licensees every quarter with no negative impact on their business. In fact, these businesses have continued to grow and have been very successful. This effort has been laudable, and we've tried to replicate and expand and amplify this effort beyond the collegiate sector. And to do this, recently, Human Rights Watch has been working with a coalition including Worker Rights Consortium. Universities and their licensees have demonstrated that it's possible to disclose factory names and locations. Now, our coalition has announced that around 17 companies have aligned with the new transparency pledge. More companies have agreed to do something that falls short of the transparency pledge, but we need the entire industry to move towards a basic degree of transparency.